My name is Rishi Sankwali, and today I'll be talking about why we need improved social welfare and rehabilitation. We are currently living in one of the most controversial and unprecedented times in recent history. A lot of the issues are with racial injustice and police brutality, but a part of the writing is due to America's unjust capitalist system, which is the reason why banks and luxury stores are being targeted in specific lootings. This lack of welfare is especially evident in medical spending, as the United States is the only developed country without universal health care, yet we have the highest per capita spending, which is especially difficult in a problematic time like this where citizens are struggling to pay any of their bills due to the global pandemic, which is why social welfare is especially important. I believe social welfare, when used correctly, can accomplish its role in helping the poor. A CBS News article by Mark Thomas does a great job of putting into perspective what the inherent function of welfare is, comparing it to insurance. The reason I believe this is such an effective analogy is that many Americans, even those who may be opposed to social welfare, have insurance. And essentially, these Americans are physically putting money into a giant pool each month without being forced to do so, as all insurance isn't mandatory, some are optional. Even though chances are that this money will never come of use to them personally, social welfare is the same way, as our taxes are put into a giant pool and distributed to those who need it. If an American feels comfortable paying for optional insurance that they may or may not be assisted by, they should feel comfortable paying for social insurance that they also may not personally benefit from. This is especially true considering the fact that the majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and they're one unexpected problem away, such as the global issue that we're dealing with today, from being unable to pay their bills. Those opposed to welfare claim that the welfare system as currently constructed isn't worth the investment we are placing into it. Brian Kaplan, a professor of economics at George Mason University, uses case studies and empirical data to prove that the majority of government programs fail a cost-benefit test. They cost more to implement than the amount of economic relief that they give to the intended subjects. In addition, Kaplan explains a topic I alluded to earlier. Our social welfare is inherently flawed due to the fact that it doesn't differentiate between those who are lazy to work and those who are unable to work. Kaplan makes the important distinction between absolute poverty, which is seen in third world nations, and the financial struggles that are seen in first world countries. This topic is also studied in the peer-reviewed article by Compton et al., which provides evidence that the primary reason that the majority of people in developed countries are unemployed and stuck in poverty is actually due to drug or alcohol use. And a chart is provided to show that most poor people in the United States actually have adequate resources to survive, and issues with drugs and violence tend to be more of a contributing factor to a low quality of life. However, while I believe the welfare system isn't perfect, it definitely has done its job in keeping poverty levels in check and helping those who need it. Research by the U.S. Census Bureau shows us that an additional 8 million Americans would be in poverty if their welfare benefits were removed. In addition, it has been proven that when poverty rates go up, so does crime and violence across the board. And there's a high level of statistical evidence to back up this finding. This is why President FDR instituted such an elaborate welfare system to combat the worst economic downturn in American history. He understood welfare was one of the many solutions to helping the American economy recover. And not only did the economy recover, it turned America into the strongest economy in the world at the time. However, it has been nearly a century since the New Deal has been instituted, and the programs need to be re-engineered to adapt to the modern needs of the market, which is what I was alluding to earlier, as there is a flaw in our welfare system, but that doesn't mean we abolish it like the sources that I previously referred to were suggesting. But I think that this simply means we need reform and a system that matches the modern day needs. You might be thinking that many low-income workers don't have the motivation to acquire the skills necessary to move up the job ladder. However, for the most part, the initial setback that these people face is not having the guidance necessary to understand the many options they can potentially pursue. This is why I feel the first step to addressing income equality is educating the poor about the many options they have to improve their quality of life. An article by by Fast Company gives an insight into the various types of programs that help low-income workers climb job ladders and perform tasks that our economy is desperately in need of, citing examples about corporations such as Walmart who are investing their own company resources into their employees because they understand the the potential for internal economic growth that can arise from more skilled and specialized employees. However, these programs will not start to become more widespread until the government steps in and takes action by investing their own resources to grow them. And the next step that I believe we need to take will not only cut government spending, but prevent the legal system from holding back the poor. In order to do this, the government simply needs to cut back on mass incarceration. An article by Inmai M. Chitayar of the Bureau Center of Justice gives us some compelling evidence on a topic, explaining that the US holds 5% of the world's population, but houses 25% of the world's prisoners. These are people who are contributing nothing to our economy and yet are using government resources to be fed and housed. Not only are we spreading copious amounts of money on incarceration, but this number is growing each and every year and has grown by 400% over the past 30 years. So this is a growing issue. As currently constructed, is simply being put in prison dampers an individual's employment prospects for the rest of their lives. Almost no employees will hire someone with a felony on their record. This causes low-level felons to seek out crime and violence to make money because they're being hindered from participating in the traditional economy. Putting a red mark on an offender's record helps no one. It crushes the offender's economic mobility for the rest of their lives, and it removes potential workers from the economy for various employers. This is why I believe we should focus our prison on rehabilitation. The California Department of Corrections states that it focuses its rehabilitation efforts on providing opportunities to change criminal thinking patterns, promote pro-social behaviors through education and cognitive behavioral treatment, and increase employability through career technical training. I'm calling for this to become the basis on which the entire criminal justice system is built around. In addition, we need to give nonviolent criminals an opportunity to get their first offense off their record so they can be given the chance to redeem themselves and earn the job that they wish to earn without any unnecessary setbacks. This is why I'm calling for the Reverse Mass Incarceration Act to be passed. This is a bill that will start to reverse the decades of legislation that incentivize states to increase their prison population by doing the opposite, incentivizing states to actually decrease their prison population. And yeah, that is my speech.